This is Marie from Underground Crafter. Grab those needles, we're getting ready to knit. Today I'll be sharing how to close the end of a bottom-up hat, knit in the round or knit flat. So first what you're going to do, if it's a slouchy hat, you may have the entire width of the hat circumference on the needles. If it's a hat that's been decreased towards the top, you may just have a few stitches on the needles, but either way the process is the same. You're going to start by cutting a strand of yarn that's about twice the length of however many stitches you have left, plus about 5 inches to weave in. Next, you'll want to use a yarn needle or darning needle or tapestry needle. I prefer the Clover Chibi bent tip needles. And you're going to thread that needle with the yarn tail. Now with your project, you're going to slide over the loops so that they are at the end of your needle. And then with your yarn needle, you're going to insert that into each loop and then take them off the knitting needle. You can do a bunch at once, or you can do them one by one if you're nervous. For me, because this is a bulky yarn and it would be easy to grab it if it came loose, I'm not too worried. If it was maybe a lace weight yarn, I might feel more concerned. And you're just going to keep doing that until you have all of the loops off of your needle and onto this bit of yarn that you have. Now don't pull the yarn yet, just keep adding the loops to it, and I'm going to keep doing that until I get to the end of my row. This is a slouchy hat, so I didn't decrease at the top. And there's quite a lot of stitches on it still, so it'll take a bit. So even if one comes off, it's pretty easy to save it, but if you're worried, do one at a time. Okay, and once you have all of the loops from your project on the yarn tail that you have threaded through the tapestry needle, you can remove your knitting needles and not worry about it unraveling. Okay, now that you have all the loops off of your knitting needles and onto this strand of yarn, you're going to start pulling it slowly. Now, if you have a hat that's knit flat like this and it hasn't been decreased, you're going to have a lot more stitches. A lot of times when you make a bottom-up knit hat, you might only have 8 or so loops. So depending on how many you have, will kind of depend on how tight you need to pull it. Okay, so in this case, because there's a lot of stitches, there's still a tiny opening on the top. So if you have that situation, what you're going to do is you're going to keep repeating what you've just done, but this time there's no knitting needles. So you're just going to insert your tapestry or yarn needle through a bunch of loops, pull it snugly, and you're going to repeat that until this opening at the top closes. Now, the one yarn I would not recommend using for this type of project is a single ply yarn. A single ply yarn tends to not so much break, but it's not really designed to hold up to a lot of tugging and pulling. So if you made a hat with a single ply yarn, I'd probably use a different method for closing the top. But this would be how you would, generally speaking, cinch a hat closed that was a bottom-up knit hat. Now you can see that the opening is really not there anymore. And so what you're going to do now is you'll take your yarn needle and you'll sort of go into that opening and then pull it through. And you see you don't need this much yarn, but it's always good to be cautious because you never know how much you might need to close that hole. And now you can just weave in this yarn tail on the inside of the hat. For this particular hat, since it was knit flat, I'm also going to seam it closed now, but if the hat was worked in the round, it would already be closed, and then you would just probably turn your hat inside out, weave in the ends, and then turn it right side out. And when you're finished, the top will be closed just like this. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Be sure to follow, like, and subscribe on whatever platform you're watching this video on. Have a great day!